DJ Scream, heavy in the streets.
We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood. We gon' get it, we gon' get it, we gon' get it. We gon' get it, we gon' get it. Get it in blood. Get it in blood.
Hood rich.
Get it out the mud.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Saints and Appetizer Podcast. And we are back. We are back on the cast here, and we got some. It would be classified as appetizers, but we're talking about UFC 304 Edwards versus Muhammad 2 and Aspinall versus Blades 2. And we're going to go over the results of this show and kind of my reaction of this. So this event happened back on last Saturday, July 27th, 2024. It was in the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester, England, which was such a weird card. I didn't understand like the whole reasoning behind that. Like the main card didn't start till like 3 in the morning or something like that. Like the prelims and stuff started at like 11, and then so 11, so like 4 hours later, the main card starts at like 3 in the morning, which was so weird because they have cards like all the time, like in Saudi Arabia and other countries. Maybe not Brazil. They may be like on the same time zone, some of the places in Brazil, but yeah. Anyways, they've had other like in Australia and stuff. Like they have the pay-per-view is at like 2 and like, well, I guess not 2 in the morning, but I swear I've there's been ones that were like at 5 p.m. But and I'm talking about like the main cards. I know there's been quite a few uh like fight nights that have been held like at 2 p.m. They're like in the middle of the day and just after afternoon. So I didn't understand that, and that's brought up a little bit of discussion and conversation of if that's why you saw maybe a poor performance out of some of the fighters. I guess Muhammad Makay is losing his job because of how wild he was acting. He's not getting re-signed by the UFC, even though he's like undefeated. I think he was like 7-0 in the UFC or something. Yeah, he's like 7-0 in the UFC over guys like Alex Perez and Tim Elliott and Cody Durden and Malcolm Gordon. And I guess because he was acting so wild during the build up to this fight, and then didn't put on a very exciting performance and almost pants Manuel Cap in the fight. That's lost him his job, which is be interesting. Be interesting to see farther down the line if he ever gets re-signed by the UFC, or if he ends up looking like a star in another another company. So that'll be interesting. And let me just finish going over the prelims here before I hop into the main card here. But we were just talking about let's see. Talking about the times of when they started. So we talked about that, and now we're talking a little bit about the prelim. So we talked about McKay and Cap, but then the only other two fights that were kind of notable to me was I always highlight a heavyweight bout, no matter what if it's an early prelim, where it's slotted on the card doesn't matter to me, because there's a good chance you might get to see a devastating knockout, and that is what you got to see here. And this was a heavyweight bout between Mick Parkins versus Luka Brzezik, and so this was this had a big line on it, like plus was it, like plus 550 for Lucas Brzezik. So it was built up that he wasn't expected to win this, and he didn't. And this Mick Perkins, impressive looking impressive looking heavyweight. Just the build, the size, and the how he's built really reminded me a lot of Tom Aspinall. That's kind of who he kind of looked like, and that's funny because that's who he trains with as well. So it all makes sense there. So that was impressive. And let's see. And then I meant in the build up to this fight, I mentioned Molly McCain and how she kind of had like a I guess more of just a local connection between her and Patty Pemblin being from the same country and all that mess. But when it comes to being a winner, she's not equal in that fact anymore. She's not undefeated in the UFC and just on the grasping at a title shot. But yeah, I got to see her get beat up for about 3 rounds against Bruna Brazil, so that was fun. That was the co-main event of the prelims. She lost a unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, and one of those judges actually thought she won one of those, 29-28. And then the last thing, just to go over the card here, we have the awards. Oh yeah, I got the attendance. I don't think I went over the attendance, but at attendance there was 17,907 at the attendance, which that's quite a lot. And then the total gate was 6.7 million. So it sounds like they did pretty good there, even with the event not starting till 11 p.m. over in what is that? That's yeah, Manchester, England. So that was wild. In my opinion, after like it seemed kind of like pretty much after the Patty Pemblin fight, the crowd was like dead, which I understand. It was like 2, 3 in the morning, but that's something I noticed about having that time out there, because before that, even during the prelims, they're like doing chants and they're like singing and stuff. But yeah, that seemed like they were asleep. Literally, they were just asleep after the Patty Pemblin King Green fight. And then on to awards. There were no fight of the night bonuses, which is not a surprise that there wasn't just one strictly listed for like a fight. There really wasn't any, like just hands down like wars and good fights that you could, you know, categorize that as. And then performance of the night, there was just one of them handed out to Patty Pemblin, which was 200,000. That was something about Belal Muhammad crying about wanting like another 300,000 like they did at UFC 300, and then he doesn't even fight good enough, not exciting enough, I guess is the word. See, we'll get to the results of that here in a second. But wasn't exciting, and then the performances of the night. So I guess there's 2 of those. So really, if you add this up, this would actually be like 400,000 from Dana White. But for the performance of the night, you have $200,000 bonuses, one for Tom Aspinall and one for Mick Parkins. All right, so that's enough of the build up and the build up and the results and outcomes and everything like that. Let's get actually into the main card now. So if you're still with me, can I get a menu? So let's get into this first fight. It's a featherweight bout between Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze, Chikadze, and this fight went decision. It went unanimous decision for Arnold Allen. He was able to edge this one out of Giga Chikadze. And see, so it was 29-28, 29-28, just pretty much across the board. Just only had Giga Chikadze only had Chikadze winning one round. And if I was to give him the one round, it probably would have been the first round, where it looked like early on that he was faster and more explosive and had better, just sharper and crisper and more accurate looking striking in the first round. But Arnold Allen, he just kept coming and just kept walking him down and making Giga like kept making him circle to the left, circle to the right, and he would just kept walking him down like nothing, no combos or anything that he was hitting seemed to hurt Arnold Allen. And Arnold Allen, he even displayed the takedown, possibility of a takedown a couple times. I think he may have gotten like maybe like one takedown and missed, but he ended up just being the better striker, honestly, because uh, he just kind of ran Chikadez to death in this fight. There was really no chance of it ever being finished by either one of these guys. No submission attempts or anything like that. I think Chikadez maybe. I think he actually did go for like a takedown like maybe late in the second or in the third round because his striking that just was not working for him at all. But yeah, he basically just got walked down by Arnold Allen, and he went on a marathon in that fight with the way he, he Arnold Allen's kept cutting him off of like where he was wanting to circle and just kept him backed up against the cage the whole fight. So that was actually pretty impressive by Arnold Allen to go in there and uh, Giga Chikadez. He's a renowned, kickboxer. He's like 48-0 or something like that. Yeah, he's 30, not quite as good as that. 38-10. Uh, but I mean that should say that he's a better boxer, a better kickboxer. But Arnold Allen proved that necessarily wasn't true. So that was the first fight. Not overly exciting. I'll give myself a little bit of a pat on the back because I didn't think either one of these fighters was going to finish each other. I thought I picked Giga Chikadez to win this by unanimous decision just because of the sole fact that both of these are very tough fighters. If you look at their records and their resumes, like they don't really get knocked out or submitted. So that really wasn't a surprise. And just the fight in general, really. Main reason it was a surprise is just that Arnold Allen beat Giga Chikadez striking. Basically, he didn't have to really go to any other part of his game, his wrestling or anything, to win. All right. So now then, on to the second fight on card, and this is a middleweight bout between Gregory Rodriguez and Christian Leroy Duncan. And this fight sadly just went to a decision, a unanimous decision. Three round, 15-minute fight, unanimous decision. It was 30-27, 30-27, 30-27. And that was Gregory Rodriguez. And I really wasn't expecting this fight to maybe even get out of the first round, honestly. Let's see. I was wanting to see if he'd ever even gone unanimous decision. Well, he's lost two and won two leading up to that. I'm talking about Gregory Rodriguez, but just because of the sole fact that he looked in great shape. He looked like a freaking brick house on the scales Friday leading up to this fight, and he's got a long history of knockouts. Like more than half of his 16 wins, 10 of his 16 wins came by knockout. So I definitely didn't see this fight ending like this. And I think Christian Leroy Duncan in his last two or three fights, he'd won by TKO or knockout as well. So I was expecting someone to go to sleep in this fight, and if nothing else, better striking. Maybe someone to get rocked or something, but that's not what it was either. It was kind of like the Arnold Allen Giga Chikadez fight, where it was just basically they're just kind of standing in front of each other the whole time. Gregory Rodriguez did get a takedown or two in this, but it was funny how like the commentators were talking about how like Gregory Rodriguez is like a Brazilian black belt, and how he's possibly been in like over like I can't remember if it was like 200 like wrestling or Brazilian jiu-jitsu matches or something like that. I can't remember what it was and what the number was, but it was something ridiculously high like that. And but I was just going off of the fact that he'd only gotten like 3 submissions in his entire career. He'd never been submitted, so it showed that he's good at defending submission, but getting them, I never thought that Christian Leroy Duncan was ever in any type of danger of getting submitted by him. But yeah, that was just ended up being a, a disappointing fight. I thought there was going to be some fireworks in that fight for sure, and then it just ended up being just a couple takedowns here by Gregory Rodriguez, and mostly he just was getting the little bit of that what was landing in the striking game. He was getting the better of it, but not a great fight. The first two fights definitely not exciting, not very exciting. Leading up into these first two fights on the main card, hell, probably the best fight was the heavyweight fight. The most exciting fight, at least, was like the heavyweight fight between Mick Perkins and Lucas Verzi. So that's disappointing. I was honestly like the fights that I was probably most excited for were that and probably the Paddy Pimblett King Green fight. But those first two fights not did not live up to my billing, and I apologize if there's any fans or listeners out there. All right, so now then we're going on to the this is the big stuff. These are the superstar fighters, the name brand fighters we got here, and it's a third fight on the card is a lightweight bout between Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green, King Green, what you want to call him. And this ended up being a technical submission triangle choke and an armbar at the same time, and it ended at 3:22 of the first round. And it, King Bobby Green, he came out and looked like he was one. It probably his only key to victory was striking, and it looked like Paddy Pimblett was a little faster and even a little more explosive, even in that uh, part of the game. And then there just ended up being like this little bit of a scramble where um, Bobby Green, King Green's kind of like throwing like an overhand punch, and then like at the same time he gets like kicked on the inside of the thigh. I think it was his right leg. He gets kicked like on the inside of his right leg, and he like trips and falls down and basically just falls down. It looks like if you saw it for the first time, it almost looks like he went for a shot, but it's really getting that leg kicked out from under him, and then he just falls into what a would be a would be try attempt at a takedown, and he looks like he gets the takedown. He does get the takedown, and he just falls. It's kind of like the Anderson Silva Kel Sonnen triangle choke. He just like falls into it basically, and he does a good job fighting it off initially, but then I think he went out, and then Paddy Pimblett is able to put the 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 armbar arm, and with no defense to it at all. He can just put as much torque as he wants onto it as he wants. I remember the Anderson Silva one. I don't think he didn't have him in an armbar like that, but he was throwing elbows. He was hitting him with a bunch of elbows at the top of the head. But yeah, so King Green, Bobby Green ended up going to sleep and maybe getting his arm broke too. That during the pay-per-view, the event, I was surprised the commentators didn't mention anything about his arm getting torqued and hyperextended. They just mentioned how he was out, and he was out for a while after that, actually. So hey, I picked Bobby Green, King Green, to get the knockout in this, and it's fair enough to say that I haven't really liked Paddy Pimblett or respected him or believed in him, but I think he did enough now. It took him cracking the top 15 for it to actually happen, but I'm there's a chance that you could see me picking Paddy Pimblett in his next fight now. I was really impressed with that just domination and basically just killed Bobby Green. Uh, with that submission. That was nasty. He could have started throwing elbows too. Had him in the armbar, elbows. He's passed out, and the triangle choke. That would have been nuts. But anyways, yeah, he was left in a bad way. So that was exciting. So that was exciting. There really wasn't excitement uh, leading up to this fight. So then maybe Paddy Pimblett he saved this card a little bit. All right, now then, on to the co-main event. We have a heavyweight championship bout between Tom Aspinall, Intercontinental Champion. So it's an Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. I don't really understand why it's not the why it's not just the regular heavyweight championship now that he's defended it. Like it should be unified once he defends it. Like the person that has the real belt is gone for more than 2 or 3 fights, then it should just be turned into the real belt. But anyway, so Tom Aspinall, Intercontinental Champion versus Curtis Blades, and ended up being a KO, which we predicted that. I predicted that Tom Aspinall would get the knockout in this, and I didn't expect it, or maybe I didn't want it to go this quickly, and so it was 1 minute of the first round, he got him out of there. Which that's very common. That's very common in heavyweight bouts uh, that guys don't make it out of the first round. That's pretty common. But I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of it. See something out of Curtis Blades, or see something different out of Tom Aspinall. Maybe see him have to result to his ground game. But you really didn't get to see that. So, but I was like, oh, maybe wanting to see it maybe later in the second or in the third round or maybe in the fourth or the fifth. But we got our knockout, which we were calling for. So we got that. But just the gist of it, I mean, just a simple way to describe it is just Curtis Blades just kind of standing in front of Tom Aspinall when, I mean, clearly his biggest skill is taking people down, the wrestling game, and he never even like tried, like not even like once really. He just stood in front of Tom Aspinall and stood in front of him until he fell over. Basically, like the moment when he like fell down, he was kind of like kind of blocking away some punches that like a combination that Tom Aspinall was hitting him with, and it seemed like a lot of it just hit him in the arm as he was kind of just brushing it away, and like as he did that, he kind of like fell back and just rolled over and flattened out on his belly. It just didn't make any sense. That didn't definitely didn't seem like very good fighter IQ. And then he takes what like 10 unanswered shots to the side of the head, and then when the ref finally pulls him off, he kindly comes up and has got his hands up like he doesn't know what happened. Like why'd you stop it? Maybe because you looked flat out on your belly. That was just not impressive. And I think due to that, you probably I would man Curtis Blades he'll have to go on a heck of a run to ever get another shot, a title shot. I would think with that poor performance and the fact he's fought for one before, I think, or he's been in some big fights. Now that was his first heavyweight bout ever, and that was just, I mean, not surprising that he was kind of a little unworthy of it because he was only coming off of like one fight win. He beat Jalton Almeida, but he just lost to Sergey Pavlovich, who Tom Aspinall beat for the championship. So that right there should tell you why Curtis Blades had like no chance in this fight. But yeah, I would say that Curtis Blades is probably going to be a gatekeeper, a stepping stone, a jag now for now on because of that just unimpressive, disappointing performance that he had. All right, but yeah, impressive by Tom Aspinall, and he's done what he's been doing to pretty much everybody, and he looks like he's 100% back from the knee injury. He's like 2 or 3 knockouts off of that injury. Yeah, so he's knocked 3 people out. Marcin Tabora, Sergey Pavlovich, and Curtis Blades. So he seems from what I can tell, he's 100%. And he even called out even called out John Jones, but he added like the little asterisk to it to please Daddy Dana, because I'd like to fight. He asked him who he wanted to fight, and he's like, I'd like to fight John Jones, but after his fight with Stipe Miocic. You had to put that after Stipe Miocic part in there, or hell, Dana White may be trying to fire you like he did Muhammad Makaev. So that was kind of funny, but at the same time, hey, that might put some pressure on him. Uh, uh, Dana and John Jones, who's dealing with injuries and legal issues. I will be honestly surprised, and I don't know what term I want to use, impressed or my mind blown, if John Jones even fights and ever again, just with the injury and the legal issues. But yeah, so be interested to see when that actually happens, or if that actually ever happens. I want to see someone who was the last person John Jones fought, because it was that it was that Giga, whatever his name is, Car Carencia. I don't remember how his name is. Serrano, Gina Serrano. I think that's like a woman fighter. Let's see, find this. I have uh like a yeah, Cyril Gahn is who I was trying to think of, and how he looked so awful against 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 John Jones. Like John Jones really just like went in there, took him down, and put him in a guillotine choke, and it was over. Like that would be kind of my fear, and I would want to see how Tom Aspinall would react to someone with a good ground game. I mean, Curtis Blades said that he and his team had a good game plan, but they didn't stick to it. So we didn't get to see Curtis Blades try to utilize it at all. But for some reason, I just feel like any heavyweight that's more of a striker might just get taken down and choked out by John Jones. He'd been doing a lot of those Brazilian grappling challenges and stuff when he's not been active in mixed martial arts. All right. So now then, on to the main event. We have a welterweight championship bout between Belal Muhammad, the challenger, versus Leon Edwards, the champion. And this fight went decision. This went decision unanimous, 48-47, 48-47, and 49-46. Which I don't really agree with the 49-46 one. I feel that Leon Edwards won the third and the fifth round, and I loved it. At the end of this fight, they were talking about like the scorecards and stuff, and they were talking about, oh, you might be able to make a case for the first round, even though it looked like Bilal Muhammad had the better striking and the better wrestling pretty much the entire fight until like the third round, where things got kind of flip flopped, and Leon Edwards got Bilal Muhammad's back and held on to it until the end of the round, which Bilal Muhammad did that like in the second. What was that, like the no, yeah, the second and the fourth round? Bilal Muhammad did that to Leon Edwards, and in the second round, I think this is where things turned, and Leon Edwards, just as a fighter, it looked kind of different. Is when Leon Edwards, they were like up against the cage in the second round, like the middle part of the second round, and Bilal Muhammad just picks Leon Edwards up and puts him on his head, drops him on his head. Like that was impressive. Talk about feeling demeaned and undermined, and just quick way to lose respect when people start picking you up and throwing you around. And that wasn't the only time he did that. He did that like three times in this fight. But just the one in the second round where he like dropped him, like dumped him right on the top of his head. Like there's people worried a bit about his neck and stuff after that. But I mean, he continued to go on talking about these rounds. So it just the first round, it was kind of just like Belal Muhammad kind of just exuding and kind of displaying his dominance on Leon Edwards, but it wasn't the same as like the second and the fourth round, where he had like his back like the entire time, and it wasn't really ever too many like threats of like a rear naked choke or really any submissions, because that's just kind of what Belal Muhammad does. He doesn't really finish people. He doesn't knock people out, doesn't submit people. So that wasn't a surprise. But then, uh, so we mentioned that Leon Edwards got the back and finished out the round in the third round. But then it was just kind of weird in the fifth round where it just didn't seem like Leon Edwards was really that alive the whole time, the whole fight pretty much. And then he actually ends up getting, he reverses like a a position on the ground that Belal Muhammad has and ends up on top with like 30 seconds to go. And then he just starts raining down like elbows and stuff. And he lands two or three of them, and one of them even busts Belal Muhammad with 30 seconds to go. Like, where was this? Where was all this in the first four rounds? So that's probably where you would give Leon Edwards round five, is just because he caused the most damage. But that I would say Belal Muhammad, just like pretty much all the other rounds, controlled the majority of that round, but he didn't. He didn't, just like the whole fight, he didn't really cause any damage besides dropping. Besides drop, I say he didn't cause any damage, but he definitely did some serious damage. That's probably some of the majority of stuff you see on a UFC card getting dropped on your head like that. Probably towards the bottom of where I want to be. But I picked this fight to go unanimous decision. I picked Leon Edwards to just to retain. I thought he was going to kind of just keep his distance the whole time and just be a better boxer, and basically Belal Muhammad just not be able to get a hold of him. And you just didn't see that at all. He just looked kind of like half awake, and his striking didn't have any snap or power to it, didn't seem like. And Belal Muhammad just kind of just walked through anything Leon Edwards was throwing, and he wasn't throwing a lot of kicks or head kicks or anything like that won him the fight in against um, against Usman, Kamara Usman. So it was just I would say that's just a uh, unimpressive performance there, but not the method of how it happened. Uh, was not a surprise, because I just thought Leon Edwards was just going to keep his distance and strike, and then as long as he could keep Belal Muhammad off of him, then he'd have a pretty much win this easily, and maybe it even come to a doctor stoppage if he's doing a good enough job of boxing and just keeping his distance and beating up an eye or a cut that Belal Muhammad was dealing with. But that's not what happened at all. Belal Muhammad indeed was able to get a hold of Leon Edwards, and he was able to do it for pretty much an entire five rounds. But it wasn't exciting. Definitely wasn't an exciting fight. It's just not an exciting fight when guys get the back position on guys. And I understand they're such good fighters, they're such good submission artists themselves. They're able to defend chokes and stuff. But I mean, Belal Muhammad, uh, he's only had one submission in his entire career. But the fact that he just never even like tried to go for one was seems kind of, I don't know, a waste. They're just basically playing it safe kind of. And Kamar Usman's only had seven himself. The big numbers I highlight here are so Leon Edwards has 22 fights, but he has 12 that have gone to decision, and Belal Muhammad's even worse. Like, he has 24 fights, but 18 of them have gone to decision. So the wins. I'm talking about the wins. So like almost every fight Belal Muhammad wins goes to unanimous decision. So it's just the uh, just I guess just that Belal Muhammad was able to beat him, and just it was pretty dominant fashion, but it was not like he was ever close to stopping him or anything. It was like a safe dominant fashion, I guess you could say. But yeah, so we got a new champion, and we got one that should be considered the new champion, but he still has the stupid intercontinental title label to him. So on this card, I ended up only ended up going, let's see, yeah, I only ended up going 2 and 3 on this 5 fight card. I won the Gregory. I got the Gregory Gregory Rodriguez versus Christian Leroy Duncan fight right, but I predicted it to be a knockout, so I didn't get that part of it right. And then I got Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades knockout right, but the rest of them I just no, I guess I was you could kind of give me like a half point for Arnold Allen versus Giga Chiquez and Bilal Muhammad and Leon Edwards because I predicted the method, and that's not more because of the fighter that won. It's more because of both fighters. Both fighters are tough and don't have a large history of stopping people. So that is just not a surprise there. So this card, I just want to say that I think it came up a little short. I think it could have been a little bit better if you would have had like a fight of the night fight in one of these fights, like obviously Bilal Muhammad versus Leon Edwards. If that would have been like the fight of the night, or even say this Gregory Rodriguez Christian Leroy fight is like a crazy crazy barn burner into like the third round, and then one of them gets like devastatingly knocked out or something like that. But there just really wasn't any of that. You got like a 1 minute fight between Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades, and then you got pretty impressive. I give the Patty Pimblin King Green technical submission. That was probably the highlight of the night for me, just off of impressed. And I'm buying Patty Pimblin stock now. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I guess it's not that long till the next card. Let's see, it's only get it. It's like it's like August 17th. When is August 17th? My math ain't too good, I don't think. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's on Saturday, August, and that's close to 2 weeks, a little like two and a half weeks away. So that's kind of nice not having to wait for a fight, a pay-per-view event that's coming up kind of short. But it's I don't know, I wouldn't say it's the greatest card in the world either. We need something. We need the UFC needs to bring back greatness to us since the UFC 300's gone. It's been a while since we had a big mashup of fights, losing Conor McGregor and Chandler on one of those last cards didn't feel too good. But anyways, I'm excited for it. I enjoyed this card, but it just didn't live up quite to what I was expecting. But there were still some exciting moments. But that's about all I have for you. We'll be ready in 2.5 weeks for another one. We got another banger hopefully coming, and hopefully it's over. It ends up being underestimated. It ends up being even better. That's usually how these cards go. Usually, if I say I think they're a good card, and then they end up being bad. Usually, and if I say, I don't think they're so great, they're kind of underestimated, they end up being great. So we'll just hope for some of that. But anyways, I think that's all I have for you this evening. So can I get a check, please?